everyone, and welcome to the second part of this series on the building process in New South Wales. If you haven't already watched the first episode and you think you might not need an approval for your development, then give that one a watch first. In this video, I'm going to talk about making the decision between the two types of building approvals available to you and some of the things you should know at this stage of the process. First things first, it's worth knowing what these approvals are and what they do. One of the most well-known ones that everyone has heard of is the Development Application, or DA. This is assessed by the local council against their Development Control Plan and Local Environment Plan. These can more often than not be found on council's website. This is what Wollongong Council's looks like. As you can see, they're normally broken up into chapters to make it a bit easier for you to find what you need. Development applications can typically be made for any development that falls outside of exempt items I spoke about in my last video. There are certain types of development, however, that are prohibited in different zones, like factory in a residential area or a brothel in an area near a school. This full list of zones is in your council's local environment plan. The other type of approval is a compliant development certificate. This application can be made to either council or a private certifier and is strictly regulated by the State Environmental Planning Policy Exempt and Compliant Development Codes. It combines the development application along with the construction approval. Essentially, this means that you'll only have to make one application instead of two. I'll cover this in much greater detail later in the series though. Deciding which route to go down can seem a bit confusing for the uninitiated, but hey, that's what I'm here for. Now, if you really don't want to work this out for yourself or deal with the paperwork, you can always go straight for a draftsman, town planner, or full service builder to help you decide. However, you should keep in mind the point of these different applications and approvals and some of the pros and cons that come with each, so you can be an informed consumer. For example, with development applications, the main advantages are that they allow you to apply for a large range of developments and have them assessed on merit, and also allow for developments that need approval from an external agency like the RFS. The cons with development applications are that they can take a very long time to be assessed and can end up being very expensive once consultants' fees are taken into account. On the other hand, compliant development can be much faster than a DA, it's often cheaper than a DA, and it has a known outcome. As long as the paperwork is prepared in accordance with the State Environmental Planning Policy, then there's no way it can't be approved. The only main con with doing compliant development is that it has a limited scope. For example, if you're wanting to build a shed, you might lean towards a compliant development as it will cost you less and eat up less time than going through council. But on the other hand, if you wanted to build a shed right on the boundary, then you would have to go to council because that isn't something that can be approved under compliant development. Basically, if what you want to do is pretty simple and small, then compliant development could be very worthwhile. But for complicated or out of the ordinary development, you'll probably have to go straight to council and get a development approval from them. Now you know some of the differences between the types of approvals, you should have a fair idea of which way to go in your situation. One thing I do want to clear up though is that if you call up a certifier, town planner, or draftsman and ask if what you have in mind is going to be a DA or a CDC, compliant development, there's a chance that they can't give you an accurate answer. That's because there's a lot of variables involved and it would be very difficult to do and you would often end up with the wrong answer in the end. Keep in mind also that even if you do call with all the important information, it takes a lot of time to do the checks required, and most professionals will charge for this service. It's a lot like if you were to ask a lawyer to look at a contract for you, you wouldn't expect them to do it for free. To help you guys that are trying to work this out, I'm offering compliant development reports through Angus Brooks Consulting. I'll go through your plans for you and do a full report on the design requirements of the code, and then let you know if it's good to go, needs some tweaks, or needs a DA. To find out more, click on the links in the description. While we're still early in the process, I think it would be good to explain the whole difference between private certifiers and councils. Okay, so up front, I'm a private certifier. I'm not about to rag on councils or anything, but it's something I feel is worth pointing out. In the late 90s, private certification was introduced to complement the work that councils do as building certifiers. It is important to know that council certifiers and private certifiers are registered by the same body and are exactly the same in most important respects. The differences really come where councils give some of their staff the ability to issue fines and things like that. The reason you need a certifier will become very clear in the next few episodes, but our main job is to make sure that in the case of a development application, the approval follows the development consent conditions. For a complying development certificate, the development follows the CDC requirements, and both of them follow the construction code during construction. The reason I'm covering this now is because if you apply for a compliant development certificate, you have to choose between council or a private certifier. Both are authorised to issue these approvals. However, if you want to lodge a development application, it has to go through council because it has to get assessed by the town planning department, and then you get the choice of whether you want to go with a council or private certifier for the following steps. In the next video, I'll go through the typical paperwork and application process for development applications and what happens afterwards. Thanks for watching till the end. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos on the New South Wales planning and construction system.